Good afternoon to everyone. Is my voice audible? Good afternoon to everyone. It is my great privilege to welcome you all to the fifth day of our two-week faculty development program on transforming education, integrating outcome-based education and the NEP 2020. Today's session is on holistic education through Indian Knowledge System IKS. This session explores the integration of traditional Indian wisdom with contemporary educational practices to create a learning experience. The theme of today's session is to underscore the importance of blending the age-old wisdom of our ancestors with the dynamic and evolving needs of modern education. Indian knowledge systems, with their rich heritage and timeless relevance, offer invaluable insights that can enhance and deepen our educational frameworks. As we align our educational strategies with the principles of OBE and the visionary guidelines of NEP 2020, it becomes imperative to draw upon the strengths of our indigenous knowledge. This fusion not only enriches the curriculum, but also fosters a holistic development of our students, nurturing them into well-rounded individuals equipped to face the challenges of the future. I encourage all participants to engage actively in today's session, to ask questions and to share their insights. With this brief introduction, now I invite Dr. D.S. Chandu, Assistant Director, Ranks and Accreditation with SAPI, to take up the session. Sir, please.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
Please confirm my audio.
Yeah, audible, sir.
Yeah, thank you. I've shared my screen. I think it's visible.
Yes, sir. Please keep it in slide mode, sir.
Yeah. Is it in the slide mode?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Slideshow? Yeah,
Yes,
thank you. Good afternoon, everyone present here for the fifth day of the faculty development program on transforming education, integrating outcome-based education and NEP 2020. So today we are going to talk about a very important aspect of NEP 2020, which talks about Indian knowledge system. And we are also trying to integrate how the holistic education can be bought and integrated into the Indian knowledge system. So there are they're not two different entities. So let us explore how can this be done in today's talk. Firstly, as I always say, I thank all my teachers for making me what I am today before I start the session. Thank you to all my teachers, and let us begin. If you remember, if you can recall, the last session that I was talking about was on the very introductory and elementary stage of outcome-based education, where the last slide that I have shown you was about the Adi Shankara's point of view, roughly around 800 in the Common Era, 8th century, where Adi Shankara says that a course must have 4 stages: Adhikari, Vishaya, Sambandha, and Prayojana. These are the 4 stages of a particular course. And then if you can recall, I was telling you that even before Kolb and Paget have proposed what have to be the outcomes in a course, it was our Indian system, our ancient Indian system, and our scholars from the Indian system, be it Adi Shankara or anyone for that matter, have foreseen and have proposed how an education system must be, and how a teacher must be, and how a Guru Sishya Parampara has to be. So this was a time when the Indian knowledge system was at its glory. This was a time where the Indian education system was at its peak, and the entire world was looking at India and Indian glory. But then, this was my last slide on my talk on day 3. But if you can recall, the last slide of day 4 was what Professor Srikant was talking about. It was about Macaulay's article. We call it as Macaulay's Minute on the education. If you can read this news article, the emphasis, the bold letter was on ancient education system. So if one can disrupt the national heritage and the age-old ancient system of India, Macaulay has proposed that that's how we can invade India much more, and that how we can, destroy the dominance of India and make British a more powerful entity or country. What is that one powerful tool that Macaulay has proposed to demolish or destroy the huge glory of Indian education? That was one simple thing called language. It was he who said that we have to imbibe English into education, and all the knowledge that is being transferred in the Guru Sishya Parampara has to be now in English. Now, when that is done, what happens is we are driven away from our rich heritage. What happens is we tend to be more deviated and away from our values. And as I told you in my last lecture, the outcome, leave about the outcome, there won't be any impact of knowledge transfer and education at all. So it was this person, Macaulay, who has westernized our Indian knowledge system, and till date, we are unable to revive our lost heritage. And the keyword of entire today's talk is language, because if you closely look into NEP 2020 document, it clearly emphasizes about bilinguality. It clearly emphasizes about teaching in vernacular systems. So that's how when we bring about language, we get a feeling of our own into the system. So with this little kind of motivation, let's understand what holistic development is. Why should we understand about holistic development in the first place? Because Indian knowledge system talks about holistic development. The backbone of Indian knowledge system is holistic development. I remember Professor Srikant was telling us on day 1 that when the entire world doesn't even know how to dress properly or clothe properly, we have seen the heights of civilization. I'm not going into the details of all those history and significance because it's not the context of our talk, but it is very important for me to tell you that 4 million years ago, we have seen what rocks are. We, in the sense Indians, have seen what rocks are. How can we use a rock for measurement or for cutting the tools, or how can we use a rock for toolery, for kitchenery, for cutlery, etc. Quartzile, many minerals were invented or discovered 400 million years ago itself, whereas the Western civilization started to grow from the 9th century onwards. Where is 4 million years ago and where is 9th century? How could this be possible? Is because of holistic development. Holistic development, as we see in today's academic premise, is just not about delivering the content that is required in an academic perspective. It's about training the student with a skill. What is that skill? There are 8 different skills. What are they? The first thing is core academics that's somehow being taught in the modern Indian system as well. Apart from that, a student must be aware of emotional development. he or she must be aware of ethics and manners. A student must be fit and healthy, so a student must also be aware of healthy and social communication skills, character building, developing character traits, critical thinking analysis, and also collaborative research, hands-on experiences with hands-on learning things. All these contribute to the holistic development which were there in the Indian knowledge system, which are there. So what the future says is, you know, day one also we had a question. Most of the academic programs are now trying to come up with some specializations on artificial intelligence, machine learning, because they have foreseen that the machines would take over the humans in the next 10 to 15 years. So where does a human value lie? A human value lies in front of a machine, definitely in terms of skill. So unskilled jobs which are there are going to be taken over by machines. So where does a human dominate over a machine is when you have a skill. That skill will be imbibed by the Indian knowledge system. So there will be demand for multidisciplinary abilities from a student, be it across science, arts, culture, humanities, etc. So definitely in our curriculum, we have to ensure that we have courses that trigger the holistic development of a student in all these perspectives. So when we do this, we create an additional skill to the student, thereby he or she can sustain in this world. What are the challenges that we have in front of us? AI, ML, machine learning, and all these things are one kind of challenge. The second challenge is the changes in the environment and in the climate. We have seen very young age people, suffering from diabetes. We have seen a dearth of energy, renewable energy. What if all the fossil fuels come to an end? Could we even imagine ourselves? So are we geared up for that? And what about sanity, pollution, etc.? So are we thinking in that perspective? To all these questions, there is an answer in the Indian knowledge system. So we are in requirement of a skilled labor in all the branches, be it biology, chemistry, physics, agricultural, and so on. So since there is also a growing demand for the humanities and art, so for India to become a developed country, development not only in terms of health, but also in terms of wealth. So how do we say India has developed in terms of wealth? We have to become the largest economy in the world. And the world should once again look at us. So we have to become, for that, we are in the fifth right now. So we have to move to the third largest economy. So that's why NEP 2020, there is this line that I would show you right now is exactly copied from the NEP 2020 document, that holistic development and Indian knowledge system are the guiding lights for futuristic India. I think I have to. Okay. Are the guiding lights for futuristic India. And these are the goals for NEP 2020 as well. So why do we need the holistic development? I think it is very much clear for us, because for the skills and ethics. So the document also says it's not what we learn, it's actually how we learn that is there in the system. So the curriculum must be like that, where if you launch any course, it must be less content driven and it must be more focused on 5 entities. So any course that you try to develop, it must be less content driven. And what are they? It must have ability to trigger the critical thinking of a student, problem solving abilities, creativity and innovation, these 3 things. And apart from that, it's just not those 3. We should also concentrate on language and literature. Only when we concentrate on language and literature, we get the regional feeling, and then that's how we talk about inclusiveness and equity also. So these two are a pair. Language and literature is a pair. Arts and culture is another pair. Health and fitness is another pair. So for all these three that I am showing you here, it's properly organized thing. So for all these three that I am showing you here, by the end of the talk, I will try to show you some examples where IKS can chip in these areas. And let's not also forget about ethics and compassion. So I'll take just 1 or 2 minutes to talk about what is our Bharatiya Jnana Parampara. This is the Sanskrit translation of Indian knowledge system. We call it as Bharatiya Jnana Parampara. Bharatiya is Indian, Jnana is knowledge, and Parampara or Vyavastha, you can call it as a system. So this picture that you're seeing here, these are all the ancient universities and one of the oldest universities in the world. Very primitive to India. Ratnagiri, Vikramshila, Pushpagiri, Somapura, Nalanda, etc. And what is written here is most important. India was the only country to have a university education in the ancient times. So university education, when we talk about, it's just not offering one course or the other, but university education should talk about holistic education. That's the meaning there. The reason why they were all shattered by invaders. It's just not our university or academic heritage that we have lost over the years, but also we have lost our heritage on culture, on festivals, and many other things. So based on the pursuit of Indian knowledge, there are three things that that will determine the knowledge. The first one being knowledge itself. We call it as jnana. And once you get a jnana, with this jnana, you will apply it somewhere and you call it as vijnana. Or for the better choice of words, we can also call it as prajna. That is wisdom. Jnana, vijnana or prajna, that you can call it as wisdom. And apart from these two, that's so unique to India and so unique to an Indian nationhood is the third entity that you get from a knowledge. Can anyone unmute and tell me what is that? From knowledge, I mean, from an education, we get knowledge, we get wisdom. And the third one, maybe even most of you would not have anticipated that that should be the third, that have been the third one. Anyone could comment or maybe unmute and tell me jnana, prajna. Apart from that, so you have gained the knowledge, you have applied it. What else you require? Ma'am, if there are any comments coming up, you can just let me know.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
The third,
Satisfaction, happiness,
satisfaction, happiness.
Samskaram.
Third one, I couldn't get you. What is that?
Samskaram, sir, and
Samskara.
Satkarma. Satkarma.
Satkarma. Very good.
Satkarma.
Very good. When you say satisfaction and happiness, you are limiting it to yourself. But the other two answers, are more relevant that talk about diversity, Indian diversity and inclusiveness. Satkarma, which means doing good things, and samskara means refining yourself. So the third thing is, sat. I will take the sat word from there. It can be satkarma, samskara, satguna, whatever it is. That sat I will take and I'll call it as satya, which is the truth. So these three are based on the pursuit of our knowledge. So the multidisciplinarity and holistic education in Bharatiya Jnana Parampara was established way back in all these universities. What was the philosophy? The philosophy is happiness to everyone. That we call it as Ananda. Happiness is Santosha, but when you spread it over all, that becomes Ananda. That is philosophy. That should be the highest human goal. The highest human goal is philosophy. So, as we are all teachers and moreover doctorates, we have to also recall that PhD is a doctorate in philosophy. So, this philosophy, which is the highest human goal, if you can see it in another dimension, it is actually called as self-liberation, once again, as per the NEP 2020 document. So, by until this slide, I think I've introduced much about Indian knowledge system, and you must have understood how important it is. So, who are the scholars? And this is a very important slide, although it may be seeming introductory to most of you. This is a very important slide in the entire presentation. I'm just not naming the scholars for the namesake, but look at here. The list is endless, but depending upon the size of my screen, I'll show you a few of the scholars. Charaka and Susruta. Charaka is one, Susruta is one. Charaka Samhita, Susruta Samhita. Charaka has given us the Ayurveda. Susruta is a sage. He has given us surgery, the surgical methods and the surgical treatments and all. Why am I talking about Charaka and Susruta? So if you can see on the right hand side, it is Ayurveda and surgery. So it is just not medical. They were also poets at their age. So it was not just medicine that they have given us. They were also very well versed in poetry. So it's just like, I am a master in, let me say, Ayurveda, for example. My mastery in Ayurveda is just not when a patient comes, not just healing the wound or something by giving an Ayurvedic medicine, but also drafting the ifs and nots and also entirely composing a samhita, a thesis out of it. It doesn't happen if you are not a poet and if you don't have the literary skills. So is this not multidisciplinary education? Is this not holistic education? So it was rooted in the Indian scholars at that very ancient age. And here, like I tell you, it's a very important slide. Today, we go and eat somewhere outside, and your mother or maybe we're all elders, we all know that whatever we eat makes what we are. Similarly, whatever we think makes what we are. Whatever we do makes what we are. If the entire system is westernized, we are Indians maybe by birth, but by actions, we are not Indians. So what do I make you understand is that DNA was there with us. So it's important for us to stop this rote learning and come ahead for the holistic education purpose. Take the example of Aryabhatta. Now we have math and astronomy. There is mathematics as well as there is astronomy. This is called Arya Siddhanta, proposed by Aryabhatta. Take the example of Varaha, or he is also called Varaha Mihira, where he has come up with Pancha Siddhantika, the astrology not only of India, but 5 different countries, including Rome, the so-called Western as well. Chanakya, who has come up with Ardhasastra. Chanakya is just not Ardhasastra, that is not just with finance. He was also the chief minister of the empire. So he was a politician as well as a finance. So it was both in Chanakya. Bhaskaracharya, much before Newton has come up with gravity, Bhaskaracharya has come up with gravitational forces. Take the example of Chandasastra from Pingala. He was a poet as well as a mathematician. Take the example of Panini, phonetics and morphology. Phonetics is how we speak, and morphology, something related to Shilpa Shastra, something related to architecture. Patanjali, you all very well know, it's about the Yoga Sutra, and Tamil people, we all very well know about Tiruvalluvar, who has given us the poetry, and along with poetry, there was also ethics imbibed into it. So this list is endless, and this list is just not for making you that we have so and so people, but to make us understand that all those people that we have at our ancestors or at our age-old place were all involved in multidisciplinary aspects. So even it's time for us to do that. So the question, why IKS is there in holistic education? Why do we have IKS? If you read the National Educational Policy document, NEP 2020, it talks about the 64 kalas that are there. What are the 64 kalas? These 64 kalas are divided into 11 categories. What are they? Starting from etiquette, fashion and jewelry, fine arts, recreation, language, domestic arts. In each arts, we have different kalas. This is called as Chatushashti Kala. Chatushashti is 64 kalas. Military sector, animal sector, forestry, animal in the sense forestry, administrative, innovation sector, arts, etc. And where was this? This was being prescribed once again by Bhana Bhatta in his novel called Kadambari. This is, if anyone is from Telangana, near Abids, we have a library. I don't remember the name properly because very many years ago I have been there. You can ask for this book there, Kadambari by Bhana Bhatta. So a good education, as per our national education policy, it must have these 64 arts imbibed into it. And that's the target of IKS. The target of IKS. So if you are wondering to, develop a course for IKS, this slide will be helpful to you. Take up any one of your choice, depending upon your interest or depending upon the requirement of your region, especially. So if your region is more into arts and artistry, take up domestic arts as an example and come up with a curriculum so that even the society gets involved. You can take the students for the field visits. You can also involve the village people over there, create a regional community and put that as one of the outcome of your course. That's a target of IKS. So this blue color, so whatever I highlight in blue color is from the document. So the notion of knowledge of many arts is often called as a liberal arts, and it must be brought back into the Indian education. That's what is the need of the 21st century. So having said this, what are the targets of Indian knowledge system? The targets of Indian knowledge system are the first thing, as we told, holistic education, multidisciplinary education. What happens when you have a multidisciplinary education? A student will not be deprived of learning only engineering aspects. He or she can master his or her skills so that the student will become self-confident. And because the student has a by birth skill or something, he will be also having a self-knowledge on these aspects. Because holistic development or holistic education also talks about collaboration and collaboration. There is always a cooperation among the peers. This is one of the target of Indian knowledge system. With that, we achieve an integration all through, and that's what makes our nation pride. That's what makes India as a Vishwa Guru. And that's when the world looks into India. So these are the key targets of IKS. Having said that, let's look into the vision and objectives of IKS. IKS, if you're not aware, you can, after this talk, you can go and browse. IKS has a dedicated website. A dedicated place is there completely for all IKS and IKS activities. And all the people who are working in this IKS, that's called as an IKS division. So there is an entire IKS division maintained by the Ministry of Education, MOE. For what purpose? It has three things to do. What is that? The first thing is any IKS, I mean, any Indian knowledge system course that you wanted to propose, that must have the drishti component. Drishti means vision, ability to perceive something. What is that? A unique perspective that will make the knowledge Indian and valuable to the world. That's the main chunk and essence of IKS. We know that. After you get the knowledge of how to perceive this course, just not like as another credit course, then you'll understand the system. That's called as parampara, and it is the vision of IKS. So this parampara called lineage, this has to continue. So there is a continuous flow of knowledge of the Indian system from you to your next generation to your next generation. That's how the legacy is maintained. I would like to pause this for a minute here and tell you that this Indian knowledge system is time immemorial. It doesn't have any mortality, and it doesn't, have any expiry, or it doesn't get decomposed with time. Such is the beauty of the Indian heritage and the Indian literature that's available. So once you get this lineage done, if you're a university, I mean to say, continue this for semesters and long. Then what happens, as someone was pointing out in the comments, satkarma, samskara. So what happens? Loka kalyana happens. That's what we call it as laukika prayojana. Adi Shankara was pointing about this, right or not? Prayojana, outcome. So the practical utility that will come to solve the problems of the world. The problems can be either region specific, or they can be campus specific, or in a broader scale, there can be society specific also. So how our Indian knowledge helps to solve our own problems. So with this, the entire three aspects that you see, drishti, parampara, and laukika prayojana, or the outcome. Let's put them into one single word. That's the vision of IKS. How do we put it? Is to just regenerate and mainstream IKS for the contemporary world. The first word that you see, regenerate, aligns with drishti. Second word, mainstream, aligns with parampara, the lineage. And then the contemporary world, for the contemporary world, for main in aligns with laukika prayojana. So this is the vision of IKS, and it wants all the schools and the universities to contribute to this vision. If you read the NEP 2020 document, especially for IKS, especially for in a view of IKS, it gives more weightage to school education than the higher education. It's because, only when your roots in your grass stage, like grade 5 to grade 12, if they are made proper, then the lineage will continue. So if anyone are from schools, especially IKS, is especially for you. Only if you start to, establish IKS, we as a higher education institutes can take it forward. So, but then it doesn't mean that higher education has to wait until the school does that. So what is the objective? Objective is complete decolonization of Indian mind. When I was giving this talk somewhere else, there was one comment actually that has come up saying that how can we decolonize an Indian mind? The objective is to decolonize the Indian mind. Now, how can you decolonize? Just by adding one course or two courses, we'll discuss about that in the further slides. Can we completely, change the mindset of an Indian student? The word complete, it gives a very bigger meaning. Decolonization, it's complete decolonization. It will come, but we have to envision it. 2030, 2040. It's just not do today and read the result tomorrow. So it will take time. And we all have to join our hands to make this a success. So what is a method that we have to follow? So this, from the thought, we have got it. What is a method that we have to follow? The first thing is generate interest about our culture, our arts, and also our traditions. Our, in the sense, the Indian art, culture, and traditions. That interest had to be generated. It's not just that it's a credit course, you do it and you go. So once this is done, we can envision our Indian knowledge system to be integrated with the holistic education no sooner than later. So what does the government do for this? So I am ready. So what are all the help or support that I can get? That's the next question that we have. So right now, maybe we may look clueless, but I'll show you some steps. How rigorous and how serious is the ministry in bringing up IKS? So how does the IKS support the schools, especially the schools and the universities? So the first thing, we'll start from here. Okay, we'll start from bottom level and go to the top. It creates a database for the individuals and organizations. Even for the individual in the sense, uh, I can also even say some small clubs in the village. They also form. They also can support or contribute to the Indian knowledge system. So IKS welcomes that as well. So contributing to the diverse Indian knowledge system. So we have a database of that, a repository is maintained. So this will become a group. Sir, your question may be, how do I become a group? Just go to the IKS website. If you want, I can show you the demonstration. You just register with your organization. Once you register with your organization and you establish an IKS cell in your institute, doesn't take, it's not a tedious task. A simple application of form is there, throw it up, and you can establish an IKS cell with the Ministry of Education. Once this step is done, then you can create, you in the sense, there's already a portal, as I told you, there's only an IKS portal for all the archives of our ancient India. The thesis, the arts, literatures, and all are being archived. Right now, if you go and search, the site and the portal is just under development. So within months and years, this would take an entire picture. But then once again, as I told you, it happens when we all join our hands. So we have to contribute to the system. And then what happens is, come to the right hand side here, the IKS, what does it do is, or the IKS division, how does it support is, it will promote even the research, especially in the schools or in the higher education institutes or in some Sanskrit universities or some universities where there are professors who teach the language course or who teach the literature courses or who teach the psychology and humanities courses. So if they want to promote their research to address some of the challenges in the present Indian, IKS division will support them if you come up with such kind of ancient ideas, which are, it's a very nice word, ancient et novel, which are ancient et novel. All right. And then once you promote your research, then what happens is there may be a collaboration among the research institutes, ministries, and developments for further enhancement. So for this purpose, even financial assistance is provided for your research activities. But then once again, your research activities must align with the vision and objectives of IKS with workshops, seminars, and publications. Much before all this IKS and this stuff came into, more dominance, I remember even when I was in my childhood, many of us used to talk about Vedic mathematics. I hope you might have heard about this. At least for me, when I first heard the word IKS a few years ago, the first thing that struck to me was Vedic mathematics. So it's not that you may be completely unaware of Veda. I'm just taking the example of Veda because of context. So there may be a Vedic literate, and you may be a professor at math. Both of you can collaborate and seek some financial assistance to come up with some research proposals. IKS division will support this. And for this, IKS will roll out monthly calls. Every month, there is a call for the research proposals. 1 month to 45 days time will be given to you to submit the proposal, and they may be taking their own time to review it and come up with the results. So this is also there in the IKS portal. Once you enter into it and establish an IKS cell, you can submit those proposals. So by doing this, we identify who are the scholars who contribute to the IKS domain, and that's how the lineage will continue. So this is the pathway for the IKS division to support the schools and the universities. So there will be a paradigm shift. So we must be ready for it. This is one of the cutting or clipping from a newspaper, which where our honorable president Draupadi Murmu says that it's very important for us to integrate tribal knowledge system to India to become a knowledge superpower. You may be wondering why, most of you, how are these words called superpower, Vishwaguru, and all these things? These are very superlative words related to our Indian knowledge. For that, we have to make our hands dirty and we have to first appreciate our Indian knowledge system. It's not questioning, but then first practicing and then experiencing it. Only that can give you an answer. Simple question answer debate, because I have seen many forums, I have participated in forums, especially for IKS. There is this debate always in the forums or panel discussions that happen. Let's leave about these debates, because even in the question answer sessions, just for the time I'm telling you, let's avoid such kind of questions and just appreciate, and let's with two hands welcome the system. Let's practice and experience it. Then we will come to know about it. So knowledge superpower can be made when we include tribal knowledge system. So why is this word tribal coming? And I think you must have also seen NCST, the National Portal on Scheduled Tribes. This also talks about the Indian knowledge system. So the specific courses which I have identified, that can relate to tribal knowledge. I have seen this newspaper clipping, and from that, maybe I thought, if some university may be thinking to bring up this tribal knowledge into their curriculum, they can come up with some specific courses. What are they? Some tribal medical practices. Even you might have seen some movies where a very severe disease that cannot be healed for years and years together, they go to some other place, and there is a small hill, especially this kala. I don't get the name, Marma Kala, actually. Indian 2 movie also they have shown us. So to identify, especially in Indian movie, if you see, to identify this Marma Kala, the police inspector goes to a tribal place in a village, and then he comes to know about it. So there are some very few medical practices which are very indigenous to our Indians. We can actually bring them up into the syllabus. Deforestation has been a very important point of thought. Trees, climate change, I was talking about in the first slide. So there can be some specific things that talk about forest management. It's not forest development and forest heritage. It's about management. How do you manage a forest? That only comes with some tribal knowledge. And natural farming. Today, we lost all the lands. All the lands are come up with buildings. So people in Singapore are coming up with vertical farming. So instead of vertical farming, we can actually develop this huge land in India that, that is very much supportive for farming. So cultivate farms in a natural way. This is what we call it as organic farming. So we can also bring up this picture and show it to the students. What can be done for organic farming? This is when a faculty in chemistry can chip up with a faculty in sociology or some other course. So both of them can come up with a proposal. And the other areas, the list will be endless. Anything you take, the list will be endless. Philosophy, yoga, etc., etc. But I'm just showing you some of the areas which we may not think about. If we talk about Indian knowledge system, we come across architecture, Shilpa Sastra, yoga, Patanjali Yoga Sutra, linguistics, etc. But the first three, tribal medicinal practices, forest culture, traditional crops and organic farming, these may be new. And that's where we can, make a unique impact. Next session on NEP, you'll learn more about what is creating a unique impact. Okay. So an engaging course on IKS must be introduced in the secondary school as an elective. This is not my saying. This line is from the NEP document. This line especially is from the NEP document. It says that there should be an engaging course on IKS in the secondary school itself. And I was telling you, right from the school education, the student will be imbibed with this knowledge and he comes to the graduation. So that's what is expected of schooling. And then maybe you can come up with some competition through indigenous games. I'll talk more about this in the next few slides, how IKS supports these indigenous games. And then video documentaries on inspirational scholars of ancient India. You can capture them and you can put them in the Ministry of Education portal with an IKS tag over it. Government is looking at it, definitely. And then finally, this is a very important point. Bagless days. Have you heard about this? Bagless days. The government is trying to propose this for the schools where at least once in a month, there has to be something called as a bagless day where the student doesn't come with a bag, no books, but some kind of, we have learned in our previous days, make something from the waste, something like that, a collaborative skill. And also the students will be taken over a tour in their regional place, or if the budget permits for the school, they can make their trip for different states as a part of these cultural exchange programs. This comes as a part of Indian knowledge system, and that reflects in the outcome. So this is some paradigm shift that we are looking ahead. So where are we going? Where are we heading to in the future? Is the first thing, there may be changes in the curriculum. What are those changes? That's not half, that's the first slide. I have two slides for curriculum changes. The first thing is the curriculum framework and the assessment mechanisms, outcome evaluation mechanisms will be developed according to the needs of Indian knowledge system. And as I've told you in my first slide, whenever from here on you hear the word Indian knowledge system, please understand that it is something skill imparting, skill Indian knowledge system, holistic education, skill. So there must be skills and values that must to be imbibed into teaching and learning. So here you may question me, how can I teach something that is related to maybe literature or something before I know it? So the government or the ministry is also taking up measures to come up with some teacher training programs. So before you go and teach this particular course on IKS or this particular regional language or whatever, you will be trained accordingly. Only if you are trained accordingly, the teacher training programs are there. I'll show you that as well. And that will be happening through many portals. I'll demonstrate that. So this will create an engaging process of teaching and learning. And because I'm talking about schools, in the NCF, the credit framework, the NCRT will identify the skill sets that are required and include the mechanisms. And I was talking about this in the earlier slides also. This has to be rooted in the early child education itself. Now here I'll once again pause and make a note that even not as a teacher, even the parenting has to be done from that perspective. So the curriculum content will be reduced because it's not more content driven, but it has to be more skill driven. So the questions, the courses, the outcomes when you prepare for those courses, how do you have to prepare? Maybe you can come up with 3 particular outcomes. One, is it fostering the inquiry based skill of a student? Inquiry means questioning and answering. Once you question and answer, you discover something. So that's a discovery based and collaborative cooperation based. That's the target, one of the targets of IKS. Discussion based components. Put them in your course outcomes. And then also incorporate some kind of problem solving and fun collaborative activities for experiential deep learning. So you can categorize them as a university core if you want, if your university wants. And the outcomes and assessment pattern can be drafted. You can come up with a draft and you can get it approved in the board of studies and further in the academic council. So if you have the autonomy as a university, you can do this. And I also have given you some of the examples of what are the courses that you can plan for. And how is the syllabus that I'll show you in the next few slides. Course titles I have given you, and you have come up with some particular. And you can ask me, what are the outcomes? I told you in the last slide, the outcome must be triggering these three aspects: inquiry based, discovery based, and discussion based. Or, if the autonomy doesn't permit you to come up with some credit based courses, also you can come up with some non credit based courses just as pass or fail courses, where the student comes, audits, but it has to be mandatory as a part of your curriculum. Even this can be proposed. This is especially recommended for universities which are finding the difficult, because you have to hire some faculties maybe sometimes to teach some peculiar courses of Indian knowledge system. So within the time you can purchase, you can buy some time, and you can come up with some pass fail courses like non-credit courses, and make it mandatory. So how does the assessment can be done? So we have talked about outcomes. How can the assessment be done? The assessment, because does it have to be necessarily a examination model? No, because if it is an examination model, once again we are losing the essence of holistic education. So maybe the assessment and evaluation can be from case studies. So maybe you can come up with a 100-mark course where case studies component will be there. From the case study, you have to prepare a report that showcases the report in the regional language, maybe to trigger the literacy skills. Field visits, this I was talking about, going to the regional villages, life labs, all these can be a part of the assessment program. 5 to 6 modules may be too much. 3 modules, out of which one module will be an introductory module to IKS. Another module will be, depending upon what course you talk about, significance of that course for the Indian management system, that can be second module. But third module, you can take it as a request or something, but I consider one module for a guest lecture and ask the students to register in IKS workshops. Once you are a part of the IKS division, you can understand that they are frequently rolling out IKS workshops. I'll also show you how and whom do I need to contact for a guest lecture. That also I'll tell you. So one module can be completely given for guest lectures, and the students can be given some credits because they have participated in that. And from this, maybe they can write a report. Or if you're not planning like this, you have another plan for making it a credit course. 2 credit course for 30 hours, 15 contact hours may be there, and the other 15 hours can be a lab project. Suppose Silpa Sastra, if you take, we can come up with a small lab for it. Suppose if you come up with some Ardhashastras or a course on financial management, you can come up with a small project component with it. So whichever is feasible, depending upon the course content, you can either come up with a lab or with a project for 15 solid hours. Other 15 hours can be for those 3 modules that I have talked about. Module 1, Module 2, Module 3. 5 hours for each module, 15 hours. So this gives you total 30 hours, and you can make it as a 2 credit course. And for this purpose, maybe one or two faculty can be identified as a point of contacts, where the university will identify the experts in the areas. in the external fields. So where are we heading to? What is the next plan for schools and higher education having this IKS? So you understood about the course and contents, scheme of evaluation, different practices that can be followed. So where are we heading towards in the future? The first thing is day one, we have talked about this. There should be no hard separation between what is curricular, what is extracurricular, and what is co-curricular. Now you tell me, when you integrate such kind of course or Silpa Sastra, Artha Sastra, or when you integrate some kind of fine arts into music, etc., there is nothing called as co-curricular. There is nothing called as extracurricular because everything comes under the curriculum itself. So students will be given an increased flexibility and they can choose their own subjects for studying this. And this is a most important aspect that I have not talked until now. Mental health, fitness, and stability. Stability in the sense, once again, mental stability. Nowadays, we all, in most of the universities, if I'm not wrong, we have this mentorship program. If not mentorship program, at least we must be having a counseling cell or a counseling program. Now, what I would suggest is why not hire another counselor who can counsel or who can give you a mental stability from an IKS perspective. Now, because there is that particular counselor, that particular counseling cell, why can't we utilize this to extract another course and put it in the program? Mental health, mental stability. If you read the document NAP, physical education talks a lot about it, mental health and mental stability. Only when we are emotionally and physically balanced, we can actually contribute anything. So, as I have told you, these modules need not be 4 credit or something. A short-term module or courses that can be taught, that too on alternate days. So that will allow an exposure for greater flexibility among the students. And the ministry says that the state education boards have the complete freedom to tailor the curriculum accordingly. Let us see a few examples. How can this be done? Okay. The first example I'll talk about is the AICTE model. I hope most of you may be aware of this, but let me just tell you. AICTE is also, growing towards value-based education, skill-based education. I'm sorry, this has to be skill-based and value education. Anyhow, vocational training courses, etc., etc. So what does it do for this purpose? So what has it come up? So it has recommended 2 mandatory inputs that will reflect the culture of ancient India. 2 mandatory inputs, courses. The first course is called as IKS 1 and the other course is called as IKS 2. Along with that, you need to have a mandatory 3-week student internship program for all the newly joined students. So whoever joins the higher education, they have to be trained up with a mandatory 3-week. It's just like our, induction program we have for several contact hours. Likewise, we need to have a 3-week, which means for 15 days, student internship program for all the newly joined students. This is when, being in the first year as a fresher, the student will be, revamped and regenerated with our heritage of India. Or else, if this is not done, he or she cannot appreciate any courses that you launch in the next subsequent semesters. What are those courses? I told you IKS 1, IKS 2. IKS 1 is called Introduction to Indian Culture and Civilization, mandatory. IKS 2 is IKS 1. IKS 1 in the sense, it comes with Indian culture and civilization along with knowledge systems and traditions. Look at here. The first course is just an introductory course to our cultures and civilization. Indus Valley, Harappa civilization, Vedic civilization, etc. can be taught in that particular course. Once you taught this Indus civilization, you can tell the student how the Indian Indus civilization helps you to transform your knowledge in this contemporary world. Application. Like, for example, I'll tell you an example here. The Indus civilization has come up with a very well-equipped drainage system. a very well planned water supply. How can you do it now, especially in the contemporary world when you have a dearth of water resources? How can you inspire from Indian knowledge system? Indus Valley civilization. Take the example of Vedic civilization. Vedic civilization, what has it given us? I'm giving you another example. It has given us 6 golden tools: Siksha, Vyakarana, Chandas, Niruktam, Jyotishyam, and Kalpam. What are all these? Nirukta is the dictionary knowledge. Nyaya Sastra. Chanda, that's the meter in which we speak. So, etc., etc. So, when the student learns about the Indian civilization in IKS 1, how can you adapt it in IKS 2? That's the application course, so that the tradition will be continued. The university, if, as I told you, in the previous slide, you can also offer some non-credit courses, pass or fail courses, but they should be mandatory, and preferably all these, whatever that is being recommended, must be done by the second year. Because we all know from the third year, it's very difficult to catch a student. So everything must be done, completed by the second year. And, underliningly, the NEP document leaves us a hint. What is that? When these courses are completed by the second year, what is the hint that the NEP gives us? It's nowhere mentioned in the document, but we have to understand that is a project that you do in your final year need not be technical. It can be also one from the IKs that you have learned. Capstone. What is capstone? Whatever the knowledge that you have gained from your courses that you are trying to implement it. Come up with one project from the IKs. For this, there is IKS division that will support you. Additionally, on a minor degree is also offered. This is not in the context, but fine. For those who have completed a minimum requirement of 18 credits in IKS. 18 credits in IKS. University health and values. A minor degree will also be provided. So, see, we are escalating, right? We started with a simple course, which is just non-creditable course, pass or fail. Next, we escalated to a credit course, which has 15 contact hours and 15 lab hours or project hours. The next level I have talked about is making a capstone project altogether from IKS. The fourth escalation, where are we going? Is to have a completely minor degree itself of university human and values based on Indian knowledge system. But then, as we all know, coming up with a minor degree will require some credits. So the 18 credits have to be completed. So the university must also be capable of providing at least 18 credits that come under the IKS category so that the student can opt for a minor degree in UHV. And whatever all these credits the student have gone through, they will be counted in the final credit count of 160 for a BTech course program. So here is an example that IKS has come up with. What are the minor courses that you can come up? So we have talked about minor program, minor degree. What are the courses that you can come up? I have given you some examples on food and forest and tribal thing. Here is some of the education. Maybe you can take a screenshot or something. I won't go through all this because it is readable and straight away. But one important point, once again, I want you to understand. If we talk about Indian economics, it's just not we are launching Indian economics, but that has to be somewhere in line with Ardhasastra. If you are taking a course on agriculture and horticulture, that should be with Vriksha Ayurveda. That's the plant Ayurveda, etc., etc. So what are the essential tools in preparation of a course? We all know that there has to be a teaching learning material. Whatever that is made star is a minimum preparation requirement. So it's mandatory. There has to be a syllabus and there has to be a proper PowerPoint presentation. It means that a material must be there. And video recording of lectures if you are planning it as a MOOC course. Reference books have to be prescribed for that. Practice exercises, if you find any, can also be there. And look at here, what is a star mark point? Faculty development program must also be there. So it's not only the student that gets involved in the student internship program, SIP, 3-week SIP, but also a faculty development program. I'll tell you how to identify some of the guests for these programs. As prepared faculty, how does the faculty get prepared? One, attend the faculty development program. Two, also involve in the training programs that are conducted by the ministry. So once you are trained in both these, you are a prepared faculty. Follow up for further development, internship and research opportunities, etc. So this is the model for a course. So before you launch a course, make sure that you have all these things. I'll come up with another example. That's called as Bharatiya Khel. I was emphasizing, I in the sense the NEP was emphasizing about physical education, mental health and fitness of a student. So in line with IKS, how can we, satisfy the national educational requirements of NEP with IKS? That is the concept of Bharatiya Khel. Just like Bharatiya Rail, that's not LHB coaches or ICF coaches, which were borrowed from the Western. When I say Bharatiya Rail, I talk about Vande Bharat, which is completely an indigenous train. Similarly, Bharatiya Khel, what is that? Is to make every student, not even a student, a child from the school itself in the country to be exposed to wide Indian games. Especially in our culture, Southern India, we are more familiar about this Ashtachama and all these things. Snake and ladder that tells about how to come up and cope up with the ups and downs in the lives, etc. So games can be indoor or outdoor. So that will make more physically fit and give us a balance of emotional and spiritual intelligence. So for example, I'll show you this. Ma'am, could you please confirm me if I have moved to the another?
Yes,
Did I
sir.
translate?
Yeah. To our websites.
Okay. So this is Bharatiya Khel website where as a university, you can register, not even as a university, as a school also, you can register. So look at here, either a school, college or university. Who needs to register is the physical education teachers have to be registered. And few minutes ago, I was talking about, right? It need not be a school or even a university to support IKs. A small regional club that is there in your area can also contribute. That's what it says. Even the sports clubs, if they are there, or any NGOs for that matter, you just register here. See, and I'm telling you, registration is as simple as such. Just give some of the details and then you submit. Once you submit, you become a member of this Bharatiya Khel, the physical education. If anyone is there from physical education, or maybe the deans or the principals, if they are there, they can forward this to their physical education department. So once you register, what happens is there will be a competition. Before a competition, I told you, the ministry will help us in the sense physical education or whoever is being registered, by training them. So you will be trained, first of all, in whatever the game that you want. There are a list of games that are there identified by the Ministry of Education. You have to pick one of the games that are there. You will be trained in that game. The same training, it's like a faculty development program. You give it to your students. So in your university, you identify some set of students and you train them with that, and you make a competition. You make a nice videograph of that and then upload it on this same website every month. So every month on the first, so the next month is August. So 1st of August, there will be a notification to upload the videos, and the time limit will be 30 days. It's 1 month time. Deadline is 31st August. So because it is July, the deadline is 31st July, where you will be given the deadline to upload your video. This is not mandatory. If you are interested, you can upload. And the game of the month will be published on this website, along with a small report on how to play and what are the, what are the places where it can trigger the Indian knowledge system. It's written as most suitable, but yeah, where is it suitable for our Indian knowledge system. And you will also be placed here. Look at here, I'm just telling you as an example, uh, teacher of the month, Professor Yogesh Kumar from Meerut College, UP, for a game of Lagori or Pittu. We know Pittu, right? Most of the young students, even on a roadside, play this game of Pittu, stone game. Avadh Patel University. So this is how, so I will not take much time, but I think you have understood this. So this is about Bharatiya Khel thing. Ma'am, am I back to the presentation?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you. So what is the outcome that you get? See, I always talk about outcomes. The outcome is you develop a mental and emotional skill so that you will become a good leader with the sports. Another example three. This is a very beautiful example I got from one book. Uh, I will share you in the comments if you want it. You read it. It's an excellent book on how management can be, how present day management has borrowed its roots from the ancient Indian thing. We talk more about workplace diversity, right? Today, we talk about workplace diversity. We talk about ethical decision making. We also conduct many programs on professional development, etc. But all these were imbibed in our ancient system. The workplace diversity or equity, or what we call inclusiveness, is Vasudhaiva Kutumbikam. The green management, which we talk about right now, paperless printing, etc., etc., all these is a worship of the nature. The better employee relations that we have to maintain, even we have scores for that in some corporate companies. It's Paraspara Devo Bhava. The motivation that we have to get, Purushartha model, our Sattva, Rajas, Tamo gunas, the three gunas that we know, is actually the personality development, etc. The Nishkama Karma, you do the work and never expect the result, that the equanimity of mind. And very important for our educational system is the concept of stakeholder theory. Stakeholders, alumni, parents, and also the industrialists, employers, they all are very important to us. That's the yajna spirit. What do you mean by yajna spirit? Whatever that we offer to the samidhi, that the fire, that is an offering. It's a service to the welfare of the world. And here, because the context has come, I would like to tell you that IKS has a logo, Hamsa logo, and it has a small tagline. What is the tagline? Can anyone tell me? The tagline is Bhadrayam Sumatau Yatema. Bhadrayam, Bhadrata. That's called as not safety, but it's welfare. Bhadrayam, welfare. Sumatau, Matau, Su. Su is good, Mati is intelligence. So good intelligence, as I told in my first few slides, is wisdom. Yatema, let us all strive. So let's all strive forward to, for what purpose? Not for ourselves, but to create a wisdom for ourselves, which will be utilized for the welfare of the society. That's the yajna spirit, stakeholder theory of our educational system. That's management. You can apply this to any management, financial management, anything, etc. So this is another example. Example 4. Oh my God, if I go into IKS health, this itself will become one topic for discussion. This will take around 1.5 hours completely for discussion. IKS in health. I will show you what it is in only one single slide. So IKS in health, you might be knowing that we have GCTM. India has GCTM, which is collaborated with who? World Health Organization. GCTM is Global Center for Traditional Medicine, not medicine, traditional. Traditional means ancestral medicine. What does who? Who in the sense? World Health Organization, which is a global thing. Our partnership do. Where does this help us? So it offers, once again, this sentence I'll skip because it's the same meaning. It gives the same meaning, the essence of IKS. But what are all the practices that we can do, put in our course, that I'm going to show you. So there are some additional materials that I would like to show. Give me a minute, please. Why is this not opening? Visible, right?
Yes, sir. Visible.
Yeah, thank you. This is ITRA Jamnagar. And some of you maybe, I told you, right, I'll be showing you how do we get some resource persons for our faculty development programs or guest lectures. This is one of the best place where you can go. And also, if you want some references for preparing your course and I mean the structure of your course for Indian knowledge system, this is one nice website. This is maintained not by Ministry of Education, but this is maintained by Ministry of Ayush. That's health, government of health, India. So here, I would like to show you only one thing. The rest of the thing you can browse whenever you are free. Is go to academics and then refer to the schools and departments. Maulika Vijnana, that's one thing. Swastha Vrutta, that's another thing. Chikitsa Vijnana, which includes Kaya Chikitsa, Panchakarma, Unani, Shalya Tantra, etc. So all these things come from the Indian knowledge system and the resources development. So here is a list of faculty, and these faculty are very much open. They can come and you can request them for research, resource talks as well. So here, our Indian knowledge system, where is it? If you want to see it as an integrity, then here it is, especially in the wealth. This is where it is flourishing. A complete institute has been framed that will reflect the Indian knowledge system in terms of health. Very nice place. That's the first thing in health. The second place where I want to show you is Swasth Bal. This is also from Ayush, Ayushman India, Swasth Bal. And what does they say is to maintain the strength of the children especially. And look at here, what does they say? Become a Sardi, a volunteer. And I want you to read this, volunteers. In this context of Indian mythology, what is that? They are trying to make involve young people as volunteers who can steer ideas and drive new thoughts for futuristic fruition. These are all the courses or whatever the thing that follows here is also from the Indian mythology. Similar to Swasth Bharat, Swachh Bharat, you have this Swasth Bal. And likewise, you also have Ayushman India, once again, Sugar Satyagraha. This is also the same thing from Ayushman India. Now, if anyone closely follows social media, this is an example where, the first example that I have shown you is a complete institute from IKS. Now, the last two examples that I have shown you, Swasth Bal and Sugar Satyagraha, are an examples where individuals from who are like you and me are contributing to the Indian knowledge system, being engineers. Who are they? In your social media, you know all these four people that I'm going to show you. Who is he? Revant from Food Farmer. He is the one who is currently targeting this Sugar Satyagraha. Any video you see on him on YouTube targets Sugar Satyagraha. And he talks about the Indian way of eating. And he is Revant from FitTuber, a very famous personality. He talks about mental health, fitness, etc. Exercises, Indian exercises, completely from an Indian point of view. And whatever the reference that he cites is completely from the scriptures, from the Ayurvedic scriptures or from the Patanjali scriptures. So they are all engineers. They are all people who are now contributing to the Indian knowledge system, having understood the significance that it would make to the nation. And if these are two male people that I would show you, because there has to be gender diversity everywhere, I'll show you two female personalities. She has won the National Young Creator Award from Narendra Modi. She talks specifically about Indian history. So when you wanted to know about more about Indian history, then you can follow her channel. And this is KK Create. She is very new to the YouTube community, but then she has got 1 million subscribers in just 10 months. This shows how welcoming is our Indian system, I mean, the Indian population towards Indian knowledge system. It's so hard to get 1 million in just 10 months. She talks more about the Indian geography. So our Indian knowledge system, I would say, is definitely in the safe hands looking at in these pictures. But then as an educational institute, we have to do our best. And as I've told you, the government is there to support us. There are portals to support us. And Bharatiya Kale or research proposals or anything that you submit, you will be awarded with 10,000 rupees or 5,500 rupees, depending upon where you actually fall, first place, second place, etc. So financial aid is there, support is there, portal for collaborations are also available. And I think with this, we can make a very good mark in integrating holistic education in bringing back and reviving our Indian knowledge system. In the interest of time, maybe I will stop here. Thank you so much for your kind attention.
Sir, thank you, sir. Shall we take question and answer, sir?
Yeah, sure.
So there is a question. Is the policy of granting autonomous whether enhance quality in higher education like engineering and other technical related?
Yeah, it is autonomous. It is autonomous.
Whether
So
it
there is no
enhances the
hard
quality.
force rules that it is there. But then, as I have told you, that mandatory courses have to be done. Only that framework, if we follow, that is sufficient. The rest autonomy is there with the state, or if you have the autonomy, it is there with the university as well.
Okay. Is it possible to come back to Indian ancient education system in our present curriculum?
Yes, yes, it is definitely possible. I mean, could you please read the question again? Sorry, I am just trying to come back to Zoom.
Sir, is it possible to come back to Indian ancient education system in our present curriculum?
Oh yes, it is. It is possible. It is possible. But as I told you, it would take certain time. It is definitely possible. And that's what, the document NEP, National Education Policy, also looks for. If not now or today or tomorrow, by 2030 and 2040, we are going to be an all-inclusive, diversive, and Vishwaguru. That's the concept.
So there are no
And
more
if
questions.
not for, and last comment, if not for these Indian knowledge system, it's very hard for us to also become the third largest economy and contribute to the GDP of the nation. I'm wondering how to get back to this Zoom. Yeah. Okay.
Sir, there are no more questions, sir. Thank you. So concluding, I would thank Dr. D.S. Chindu, sir, for such an insightful and excellent presentation. On behalf of organizing committee, I would express sincere thanks to our honorable chairman, principal, and our head, our technical team, and all the participants. Let's make it a day of learning, sharing, and growing together. Thank you all. Sir, I request all the participants to please turn on their videos for a photo session.
Ma'am, could you please confirm if my screen is visible? Because I'm
Yes, sir.
nowhere able to see the Zoom.
Your screen is, you're still sharing the screen, sir. You can stop
I'm sharing the screen, but I don't know what is visible on my screen also, because it's completely blank here.
Welcome to Teams.
Teams, how did that open? Maybe I'm clicking something else. Okay, but am I visible? Because
yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you. I'll stop sharing now.
Yeah, I request all the participants to please turn on their cameras for a photo session. And our next session would be on Monday. Saturday as scheduled. There is no session on Saturday.
Yeah, no, I got it. Yeah. Thank you, ma'am.
I request all the participants to please turn on their videos for a photo session.